The safe use of a nail gun is an essential part of our assembly process, and this program is designed to show our employees some key points on how to safely use a nail gun. Your close attention is very important, as just a little bit of carelessness can quickly lead to a serious injury. Although this may sound very basic to many of you, let's first make sure you understand what a nail gun is. Using the air that comes from a compressor, a nail gun, when triggered, shoots a 3-inch nail out with enough speed and power to nail 2 pieces of wood together. The estimated speed of a nail exiting the gun is approximately 400 feet per second. That's roughly 270 miles per hour. That's right, 270 miles per hour. We hope you get the point. Or actually, we hope that you don't get the point. If you are careless in the handling and use of a nail gun, you can send a sharp projectile out of the gun at a very high rate of speed, possibly into your body or that of a fellow employee. So obviously, the careful handling of a nail gun is an essential requirement of your job. It is most important for you to know what kind of trigger your gun has, because if you are not sure, you can easily accidentally fire the gun. To fire any nail gun, the process involves 2 controls, a safety contact tip and a squeeze trigger. When we talk about the kind of trigger a gun has, we are talking about the required order of use of both the safety contact tip and the squeeze trigger. There are 4 types of triggers: a full sequential trigger, a contact trigger, a single sequential trigger, and a single actuation trigger. Let's talk first about the full sequential trigger. With this trigger, a nail will only fire when the controls are activated in a certain order. When the safety contact tip is first pushed onto the workplace, then the gun fires when the squeeze trigger is squeezed. To fire another nail, one has to both release the squeeze trigger and the safety contact, and then reactivate the safety contact tip, followed by the squeeze trigger. This is the safest type of nail gun trigger, but it is one that does not allow for fast nailing. The second type of trigger is the contact trigger. This gun fires a nail when both the safety contact tip and squeeze trigger are activated regardless of the order. If you activate the safety contact tip and then squeeze the trigger, the gun fires. If you squeeze the trigger and then activate the safety contact tip, the gun also fires. With this gun, you can have the trigger continuously squeezed and move the gun and safety contact tip from place to place, and the gun will fire each time the safety contact tip is activated. This allows you to bump fire the gun, making for quick work. As with most hazardous work, if you get in a hurry and move faster than your skills allow, the risk of firing a nail without properly aiming the nail becomes a high risk. The risk for a double fire is much higher with this type of gun, so extra caution is strongly encouraged when using a contact trigger gun. The third type of trigger is the single sequential trigger. To fire this type of trigger, the safety contact tip must be activated by pushing it against the workpiece and then squeezing the squeeze trigger. If you keep the safety contact engaged against the material, you can pull the squeeze trigger again and again, firing a nail each time you pull the squeeze trigger. If you pull the safety contact off the material, you will have to push it against the material again before a squeeze will fire the gun. The fourth type of trigger is the single actuation trigger. Similar to the contact trigger, you can activate the safety contact tip and squeeze trigger in any order. The difference is that you have to activate both each time you want to fire a nail. With this trigger, you cannot just continually squeeze the squeeze trigger and fire the gun using the safety contact tip like you can do with the contact trigger. The single actuation trigger mechanism will definitely help you avoid double firings, the cause of many nail gun related injuries. The nail guns you will be using at Zeeland Lumber and Supply will vary, so make sure you know what kind of trigger is on the gun you are using. If it is the contact trigger, again be reminded of the high risk of a double fire. Before you fire your first nail, you should first look over the nail gun thoroughly to make sure nothing is broken and that all nuts and screws are tight. At the beginning of each shift, you should put a few drops of oil into the hole where you connect the air hose. Should your nail gun not be in good working order, turn it into maintenance and get another gun. To load the gun safely, disconnect the air hose from the gun, release the nail pusher, load the nails in, and re-secure the nail pusher. Once you connect the air line, the nail gun is ready to use. But before you start working, we want to lower your risk of your hurting yourself by telling you how nail gun injuries usually happen. A most common injury happens when the nail gun is not aimed properly and the nail comes out of the material and goes into a part of your body. If you have the gun too close to the edge of the wood or at a bad angle, the nail can easily go through the wood and possibly into your hand. In some cases, the aim has been so bad that the nail missed the wood completely. We want you to be quick in your work, but we don't want you to get in such a hurry that you do not take the time to aim the gun properly. When there is a knot in the wood or some other hard object that the nail might hit, the direction of the nail can change and possibly come out of the wood. It is highly recommended that you keep your hand 12 inches away from the place you are nailing, a safe foot away from the safety contact tip. In some facilities, there may be indicators on the rollers or the table there to remind you to not have your hand between the indicator and the gun. Many tables that we have don't allow those indicators, so just remember the safe foot rule. Keep your hand a safe foot away from where you are nailing. Accidents can also occur with certain triggers if you have the trigger squeezed while carrying the gun. If you have your finger on the trigger and you bump the safety contact tip against some material or your body, a nail will fire, possibly into you. Whenever you are not using the gun, or if you are handing the gun to someone else, disconnect the air. Injuries can also easily happen if you are nailing from an awkward position. As with any powered tool, you should always make sure you have a good balanced stance, have a good grip on the nail gun, and are not trying to operate the gun from an awkward position. Operating a nail gun safely, like so many other jobs, is often just good common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is not always as common as it should be, so we want to share some good common sense practices for nail gun operation. As mentioned previously, check over the nail gun before you begin using it to make sure it is in proper working order. If it is not in good working order, take it out of service. Always wear eye protection when operating a nail gun or any powered equipment. Set up operations so that other employees are not in the line of fire. Keep your work area clear and clean of debris, because tripping over something with a nail gun in your hand is something you must avoid. Stay aware of the location of the air hose at all times so that it doesn't become a trip hazard or get snagged so that it pulls on the gun. Don't ever pull or yank on the air hose. Inspect the products you are nailing to make sure there are not any knots or nails that will interfere with the path of the nail you are firing. Keep your hands a safe foot away from the nailing point and carefully aim the gun, never towards you or others. You should disconnect the compressed air when you leave a nail gun unattended, when you are clearing a jammed nail, or doing any maintenance on the gun. When carrying the gun, keep your fingers off the trigger, never drag the gun by the air hose, and never attempt to bypass or disable the safety features. One more point. A good number of our people use staple guns, and although they are different from nail guns, they are similar in that they both shoot sharp objects out at a high speed. The safe practices to be followed using a nail gun should also be used when using staple guns. To summarize, the nail gun is a very powerful tool, one that will help you avoid a great deal of manual work, but it is a tool that comes with some serious risks. You are expected to take care of your gun, to keep it clean and properly maintained, to use great care when handling the gun, and to always take the time necessary to properly aim it before activating the trigger controls. If you do so, you will gain speed with experience and become a very productive and safe member of the team.